welcome to Creating in Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I'm your host, Kaybe, and today we speak with Pranav, a 3D animator whose past projects include Transformers, Rise of the Beast, and Argyle. Ooh, I actually just saw a trailer for that. How are you
Really?
today, Pranav? Yeah, I did. I was
I'm
like,
doing
oh, wait.
I'm doing very well, thank you. And how did you like the trailer, first off?
It was very trippy.
Yeah, that's Matthew Vaughn movies. That's it.
Oh, perfect. Wow. Okay, so tell me, what is a 3D animator?
Oh, where to begin? A 3D animator in the very simplest form is someone who pours life into 3D characters. So our job is, uh, let's say, let's take any Pixar movie for example. So Toy
Mm-hmm.
Story, the godfather of it all. Our job is to take the models like Woody, for example, and animate him so that he moves in a way that is believable. Well, it also depends on the medium. Then you can go into complexities of how believable, what is cartoony, and whatnot. So that's where the style goes in. But it's basically to breathe in life into those characters and make them appealing for the audiences to watch.
And how did you get started?
Oh, my journey into becoming an animator is, I don't think one that is necessarily like a straight path. I think it's the case with pretty much everyone who gets into this field. Um, well, I started with this is like way back, so this is a brief intro into my life story. I started as someone who wanted to get into games, so
Mm.
I did computer science, bachelor's in computer science, and I quickly realized in my second year of that program that computer science is not actually about making games, more so about like an IT or like a software development thing. And I did get my degree. So after I got that, I quickly pivoted into doing a master's because I was already learning myself how to do 3D stuff. And I initially wanted to be a character artist. Believe it or not, I was doing Blender, making models. I still do that from time to time. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I pivoted into doing my master's where I was introduced to animation because once I went there, my eyes were just opened into a world of possibilities. I only thought getting into games means making characters. I did not even know like animation or programming. And while there, I learned a lot of things, and animation was something that I was really lacking knowledge in. So I specifically requested a professor to have independent studies with me, like take an extra course, teach me in a full semester the basics of animation, and he graciously did. And I am so thankful to him because later that year I did get an offer at NBC Films, which again came by fluke. I was not looking for, I was not expecting to get in, given the body of work I had, because I had done it for 3 months as opposed to those who are doing it for 4 years in their bachelor's. So
Mm.
I just accidentally fell into it, and then I guess through some way or another, instead of becoming a character artist, I became an animator, or the animator industry or the animation industry found me and gave me an opportunity to just dive into it and explore this world, which is just make something believable. So that's how I got in, which is like a definitely not a straight road, many branching paths in it, but I'm happy to be here.
Very nice. Wow. Yeah. That is a very interesting beginning.
Oh yeah.
So, as you mentioned, you did want to get into games, but you
Mhm.
saw this whole new world of animation. And what's I'm looking at your body of work so far, and your body of work so far is live action features.
It is.
So, I'm curious if this is just like the way that your path is going so far? Or do you think you intentionally wanted to go into live action, or do you see yourself going into specifically animated features and television?
Um, well, to start off, and I guess this is the story of every student who graduates after finishing their course, is that they just want to get a job.
Yeah, yeah.
They- and that's pretty much the same boat I was in. And it's also an there's also an added pressure because I was a quick another quick more detail and insight into it. I finished my bachelor's in India, and then I came for my master's to the US as an international student. So I was on student visa, and as international student or an immigrant, there's a lot of pressure to get. Oh, wait, my camera stopped. I just realized. But
Oh.
anyway, but as a student, there's a lot of pressure for once you graduate, they just give you like a brief, very brief period to find a job, and if you don't, there's a chance you might get deported. So I had a lot of pressure on that.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. So my thing was I need to get anything I can get my hands on. And initially, I worked for a professor of mine who was super generous to give me an opportunity to work with her. And then, like, through something or another, I found VFX. I was applying for games. Like, I actually, to be fair, I was applying anywhere that was just hiring. And for VFX, I found this opening for they were just this is during COVID time, so they were taking in students and they were training them, and whosoever had a nice enough reel at the end of it would get an offer, a 6 month contract to work in Canada.
Mm.
So I was lucky enough came here because I had a blank slate and had no frame of reference on how games work versus how movies work. I did have some experience with games because I did like game projects and whatnot, so I knew a little bit about it, but I had no idea about VFX and like what that entails. So I was honestly just everything that happened to me up until that point was just I was just excited. I was like, "Ooh, VFX! I want to learn that and how that happens," because I knew a bit about games. So it's definitely one of those things that just happened to me, and I just went along with it.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there are many things to be said about VFX, but I did enjoy my time there. And now that I know, now that I have another frame of reference, now I'm trying to pivot more into games because games are just so much fun, you know.
What is Unreal Engine 5 Metahumans?
Ooh, we are getting into Unreal Engine, the sweet toy that everyone is getting into now that the version 5 is out. Yeah, let's talk about it. Ah, where to begin? Okay, so 2021 Unreal Engine. This is again, I think, right after COVID. Unreal Engine announced that they are having this uh, library of digital human characters, extremely realistic, uh, that they were public, that were being publicly made available to everyone, which means everyone who wants to get into filmmaking now has access to these high fidelity 3D models that in a VFX or a game pipeline would take roughly around 3 months to make, and they just made it available like that. And with subsequent updates, what they have managed to do is now what they allow you to do is scan your face in 3D and make yourself a digital avatar, which is 85% close to the likeness that you have. And the possibilities that it brings with it is just endless. I've been seeing some really amazing creations from people that are just so detailed, and the people are just going nuts with it because now that oh, that's not the only thing. I forgot to mention the biggest drive towards metahumans is that I mentioned the 3 month process about making a character. That's
Mm-hmm.
just sculpting, modeling, texturing. That's all that. Then there's the other aspect of rigging a character, which in and of itself is a completely different beast that I don't even want to get into. These metahumans are pre-rigged by the what I would like to call them as the best triggers the industry has to offer. Industry standard rigs, and it's just freely available for anyone to study, for anyone to use in any project that they want. No strings attached, and it's just so freeing to have something like this in your grasp. When you have something like that, the only limitation is just your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drove me to them, and that's what I've been exploring more on, like metahumans, custom metahumans, how they work, what's the front end, back end, so many things to get into. But in a gist, that's what they are. It's just high detailed characters and rigged characters that are just too good.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, you won me over with that rigging part.
Yeah. It's not just the body rig though. Like body rig is still fine. The face rig with all the fact system is just to swoon over. I see those things, and now that you can also like attach your mocap and everything to them, and they just move really good. Especially the face. The face is just so good. It's amazing. Like that, the animation that you see is just it's just more lifelike, and it's crossing that uncanny valley. It's too good. I'm
No,
sorry. I'll stop. I'm
no,
fanboying.
no. You're excited. I love it. This is great. So, what does your daily routine look like?
At the moment, I'm not a best role model for the daily routine because my
Okay.
daily routine starts by going to bed at 3 a.m.
Hey, me too. Let's go.
Awesome. because because I'm a night owl, man. I am out and out. Just my thing is that I cannot work during the day for some reason. Uh, like I can work, but not in the mornings. Mornings for me are really slow, and I think during the night is where I pick up work. Even at MPC, I was I had this bad reputation, pretty much among everyone, from my supervisors to my leads to my production coordinators. Everyone knew that I would push my updates at like 3 in the morning, and they would be like, "You just stop that, otherwise we are going to stop paying you overtime." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." Yeah, I had to be forced by money to not do that. But
Dang.
but now, my routine, I'm trying to get better, but it usually starts, I do get some light exercise because most of my day, especially now that I'm not traveling for work, it's just sitting at home. So, starts with some light exercise. And after that, I just go and check my freelance projects and what's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm working in Unreal Engine Metahumans. So, uh, yeah, it's just going in there, figuring out what's the plan, working through it, hopefully remembering to have lunch on time.
Yep.
And but what I try to do every day, and I try to stick by it, is that if I'm working, I like to put in my 8 hours. Even though I'm a freelancer and I'm working in my own time, I still like to think of it like as like a full time job, because if it's really easy to fall into the trap of laying back when you're a freelancer. You just put in 2 hours, and like, I'll do it later, because there is
Yeah.
no one to discipline you. But I think, and I heard this somewhere. I believe it was uh, like this is not a plug, but I just really like this creator on Instagram. Her name is Annabelle Simon. I saw an interview of hers, I think a few years back, where she was saying, when she was out of when she graduated and was looking for a job, she said that her portfolio was just not good, and she said that what I did was, um, I joined a course, I learned stuff, and then when I wanted to make my own characters and improve my portfolio, I just started doing it as a day job, like 8 hours a day, 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, and then no like nothing in between, no distractions, nothing to be like, oh, I'm just gonna watch like a 2 hour movie in between my 8 hour day. No, it was like 9 to 6, and then after that is like I come home and then I relax. And I try to stick by it because I really like it so much. So as a freelancer, I try to put in my 8 hours, and then after that, just wind down, spend time with family, with my girlfriend, and yeah, and then hopefully not stay up until 3 a.m. It definitely goes to 1 though.
Yeah. At least. At least.
At
One is
least.
early.
Oh, for me, yeah.
Yeah, no, same, same. I went to bed early last night because I was like, I gotta wake up to interview at 9 in the morning.
Funny you say that. I went to bed at 4.
Did you?
Yeah, I did go to bed at 4. I was like, I knew I had the interview and I knew I had some work as well, but I was like, I haven't had a nice chill Saturday, and I was just up playing games, hanging out, and I was like, I'm having fun in a long time. I'm just gonna ride this wave.
Yes. What game are you playing?
Oh, right now I'm playing Stray with my girlfriend. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
cute.
we're playing it together. Um, but yeah, Stray right now, and then just some fun board games, backgammon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like backgammon or just some obscure games that we can find. Anything that's fun.
Yeah, I love it. Aw. What are some specific roadblocks you try to watch out for?
Well, as an animator, the biggest roadblock, and I don't know how many animators have this because I don't think I've talked to them about this particular thing that I have, but I have the tendency to sometimes go into an animation. It's different with mocap cleanup. Right now, my current freelance work, I cannot disclose much about it. I'm under NDA, but it involves mocap cleanup as opposed to like full on animation. So like for mocap cleanup, I guess the biggest roadblock is to just plan out because you don't really want to spend too much time going in frame by frame and cleaning out stuff that might not even be on camera. So it's best to plan out what thing needs the most attention, get that out of the way, and then move on from there, because having that kind of a road plan or a roadmap of, okay, I need to do this thing because this is going to make my next job easier, basically setting up yourself up for success. And you get that by experience. I know, like the first mocap cleanup I did, I was just miserable because I had no idea what I was doing. Like, do I do this or do I do this? And then I just went in and I did something, it didn't work, then I did other thing, it worked. So like for mocap cleanup, that's the thing. As an animator, I I would say, like, I have this thing where I tend to not record reference, and that's a no-no. Like for animation, you always need a reference, and I try to think to myself like, oh, but this one is, I just have it in my brain.
Right,
I,
right.
I yeah, I'll just it's I think it's the same thing as people who are starting out to draw and they have this like really clear picture in their head, and then they start to draw it and it's nothing like they imagined, because it's just like a glimpse of what they have. They don't have, like, the more they try to focus, the more it's like you don't even know what the details or what the perspective is. It's the same with animation where, like, I try to go in having this idea. Let's say Spider-Man, for example. I've been wanting, and I'm not kidding you, I've been wanting to make a Spider-Man swinging animation for so long, and I have it all planned out in my brain. Now, I'm not a good artist. I'm not a cinematographer. I am not a storyboard artist. So I just have this thing of like, oh, it's gonna like go from here to there, and then it's like, camera's gonna whip pan, and that's like zoom. And I just went in and I had no idea what I was doing. So that's like the biggest hurdle that I learned from it. I'm like, reference is everything in an animation. And I try to, even though I don't want to, I still have to. Even for my mocap cleanups, I still have to record references because sometimes there's just no other way. Yeah. And in my free time, I do make 3D models, but I mean, I like to think that I've had, like, not to say that I'm the best. I'm not. I see people who are better than me, but I just, like, nowadays 3D modeling for me is just fun stuff. So like a hobby. So I just try to have fun with it, as opposed to earlier I used to have like, oh no, I need like a quad topology and I need to like make it more fun. And now I'm just like, it's a sculpt, poly painted, get it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that I try to come over, and then it's from there, it's like study the reference, make a good block out. But that's like everyone who gets into animation learns about, is like, get your block outs, it make sure that your block out is nice before you spline. I do spline animation. I don't go into steps. Like, I like to do it that way. I like to see everything smooth out because it gives me a better perspective of what I'm doing. But yeah, the reference thing is definitely a big one for me, because as an artist, And I hate to admit it, but I am a bit lazy.
Now I understand. Reference is very important, and I'm glad that you're mentioning it because, like, I think it's something that everyone struggles with, but no one's really talking about.
uh, all the like I've seen this. All the successful animators are those who rise up. They always have a reference, and I'm not kidding. I've seen senior animators when I was at MPC do the most, and we were working on Transformers. Okay, so like this recent Transformers that came out had animals in it. So of course we had animal as a reference, but they were not shying from acting like a monkey at times. They did it and they showed it to us, and it was super encouraging because like when you see a senior level artist do that, it gives you the confidence to also put yourself out there. I know that gave me the confidence to act like a monkey in the shot that I had. So yeah, it definitely it's nice. So everyone I see, especially like on Animation Mentor or Anim School, they sometimes post. I was actually watching a video from someone last night. I forgot the animator's name. He's a really good animator. I forgot his name, but he was giving feedback to someone, and he was like, "Your animation is good. Like you're biting off more than you can chew. Obviously, like I could tell that from the shot. Like because I haven't attempted anything like that either. But he was like, the thing that you're lacking right now is the reference. Like you don't have that. So what you have is very stiff, and it's okay to like. It's not a crutch that you need. It's a guideline that you must have because without it, you just won't know how the human body works. And I agree with him. Like the way he put it in words is just something that makes me want to be like, all right, I'll record a reference.
And what support software or resources did you use or would recommend for someone trying to break in?
Okay, here's the thing. I am a very, very budget friendly guy. Like, if I have the opportunity to not spend money, I won't unless I
Mm-hmm.
have it. Even then, I would think twice because I come from like my not my upbringing, but my thought process is more like if it doesn't really make sense for me to get subscription models, especially when you're starting out. Like I'm going to really, I'll get to your question, but I'm going to equate this real quickly
Mm-hmm.
with like someone starting out 3D modeling or 3D sculpting as an example. I'm a prime example of that. I mean, in my case, my journey still kept me in 3D, but I see people who see what I'm doing, especially in the beginning, like when I was learning, and they were like, "Oh, what is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm making this thing for my game." And they come up and they're like, "Oh, super excited." And some of them, they think that it's cool, go out, and instead of like experimenting anything, buy like the most expensive tablet because they think the gadget is going to help them, whereas that's
Right.
not the case. So before anyone who's starting out goes on Reddit or goes on like these forums, well nowadays they are much better with their advice. But when I was starting out, it was more like, well, this is the industry standard software, so you better get your experience in this software so that you will have a leg up upon. Do not listen to that. That person is a crazy person because let me tell you, the technical knowledge is transferable. Like the technical knowledge, you can catch on within a week, 2 weeks at max. You will know how the other software works if you have worked in the like whatever you got your hands on, a free software. But more important is the core knowledge on how to do things. How do you come up with solutions to the problems? How do you approach this thing so that it takes the least amount of time but gets the best result? And those things come with experience, which honestly you can get in any freely available software. So to get to the point, and not I'm not saying this because I'm a fanboy, but uh, do not hesitate to shy away from Blender. I know Blender's animation system is not really the best right now, and like Blender's strength at the moment is the fact that it can model, it can render. Their rendering engine is really good, but their animation system is still a bit janky and doesn't have, excuse me, it doesn't have all the fancy tools that Maya has. But let me tell you, Maya's fancy tools come at a price. Like you have to pay a subscription model for getting the tools. Like native Maya, even native Maya, like you just have it's good. Like I'm not denying the fact. Uh, okay, let me put it in a nicer way. I am not denying the fact that Maya is not a good animation software. In my opinion, Maya is probably the best animation software out there. I'm not denying that. It's really good. It's really robust. There's a reason for that because it's been in the industry for 20 years. It was built for animation. That's why Maya's modeling tools suck. Like in my opinion, I use Blender. I love Blender's animation modeling tools. And on the flip side, Blender's animation tool, because Blender hasn't really been an animation software for long, like you were able to do it, you still are, but it's just not there yet. And it has the basics you need. It's
Yeah.
it's still a bit janky, but you can almost do anything in Blender that you cannot do or that you can do in Maya. So don't shy away from Blender. Give it a chance. They have lots of free rigs that are made by professional rigging artists. I would also say if you have the capacity and your PC can run Unreal Engine, try that. Like Unreal Engine has free rigs. I talked about Metahumans, completely free. They are realistic, so you have to be like if you're going for cartoony, they do have like one cartoony rig, but most cartoony rigs will be available for Blender and or Maya. So just go with Blender, try it out. That's my advice. Is like for someone starting out, go with don't think of the shiny thing, spend money on it. Go with Blender. It's free, open source, keeps getting updated constantly, and it's in a much better state than when I started out in it. So it's the new fancy, it's the new kid in town. That's what I like to
Yeah.
call it. Yeah, yeah. I like to equate Blender to like this is an analogy. I'll come back to it real quick, but yeah, let me just finish my thought. So yeah,
Okay.
go with Blender. Take your time with it. Explore that software because I kid you not, it pretty much has everything a 3D artist needs. It has modeling tools, it has sculpting, it has texturing, it has animation, it has rendering. Explore that, see what speaks to you. Like let the software tell you what you like. Like you can just have fun with it, but you will find your calling once you explore like what you like to do. And if you like something, dive into it more, experiment with it. And if you really feel like you are committed, go ahead, get Maya. That's like then you can say that you have earned yourself the right to get Maya. So that's what I'll say. And coming back to my analogy, I like to think of Blender as well, prior to 2.8 version, Blender was just ridiculous software. Like it you used to select things with right click. It was horrible. And after 2.8, it's all the hubbub. Everyone is jumping the Blender train.
Mm-hmm.
So to all those who used it before 2.8 and like prior to 2.8, I like to think of it as like, oh, he's the middle schooler who was made fun of by Maya, and then come high school or like like 10 years later, they all meet together. And Blender is this cool kid that everyone is looking up to because everyone wants to be with it. Post 2.8, it's the hip kid that everyone wants to be with now. But
Yes.
yeah, so sorry that went on for a while. But yeah, my advice is I'm not a Blender. I love Blender, but I am also like not advocating just use that. There are other free alternatives. It's just that Blender has such an open community and so much support behind it that it's just go with it, see what speaks to you, and then you know because that's how I found that I like modeling. I like to make characters. It's just like with through some things, I also found out like Maya is an option, and I love animating. So yeah,
Nice. Very nice. Thank you.
thank you.
So, what was your upbringing like?
I just want everyone to know that like my upbringing was we like I grew up in like a middle class family, so it was comfortable, but also not like fancy. Like we had the best things, but what we had, I was content with. So like humility and like humbleness was something that was imbued in me from a very early on. Like being grateful for what I was getting was something that I learned pretty early on. That like I see people, or just not even people, my friends who I grew up with, who grew up in a much stricter household, and who were like a bit, oh, you have to do this thing. Even through college, I knew people who were like, oh, they are doing this because it's a safe option. And on that end, I really want to thank my parents for that. They have been, since I was a kid. And I'm not making this up. Since the sixth grade, I played this like really bad Spider-Man 2 game. Like it was now that I look it
Hold
up.
on. The GameCube
Not the game. It's the one on PC. It came out. It was really janky. Like I don't even. It's just called Spider-Man 2. But yeah, it was review bombed. Now that I look it up. But I was playing that game and I realized then and there I wanted to make games. And I told them, and I stuck with it. Like, I was like, I want to make games. I want to make games. That's why they asked me to like take computer science, because for them, like they're not from gaming 3D art background. They are pretty like engineering side and like physics side. So they have academic uh, professions. But for me, I was like, I want to pivot into something that no one in the family knows about, and they were so supportive. They like for them, gaming is programming, so they thought, okay, computer science might help you. Now I realized later that that's not the case. So I told them, and they were still super supportive. They're like, okay, you can pivot into it something else if you want. So I have been extremely lucky that I have such supportive parents who, even to this day, after they have seen me getting laid off during the strikes. That was my first, like, NPC was my first job. I worked there for 9 months. Then the strikes happened, and I told them, and they were like, "Your industry, like, they have doubts about it. I'm not saying that they
one?
don't. I told them about what it is. They have their doubts, and even then, they're always behind me, just pushing me to be like, okay, just keep doing your best. Don't get disheartened. You will find something. As someone who was growing up, there's nothing more that you want than to just hear those words. Like, we support you. You pursue this. This is your passion. So in that sense, I was super lucky that my upbringing was like with two of the most amazing people I know. Three, sorry, well, my sister as well. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That was my upbringing. Quiet household, nothing too crazy or fancy. I wasn't like the kid who was like a rebel in school. No, I was like a straight kid. Or like, oh, I'll just do what the teacher says. I won't do any mischiefs. I don't want to get in
Perfect.
trouble.
I understand. Yeah. You didn't get detention or anything. Well done.
Yeah, sometimes I would.
Uh oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, at times you're like, ooh, I'm feeling a bit mischievous.
So, what do you feel are the next steps in your journey?
I'll be honest with you, who knows? So far, I have had no idea what's been happening. Whenever I try to plan something, it doesn't work out. Like, no matter how carefully I plan the next steps and everything, there is something that just twists and twirls me into something else. And now I'm in this other place. Like, from modeling to animation, it just happened. So, right now, like, I never thought I would be a freelancer. Uh, More so, I never thought I would be freelancing for stuff inside of Unreal Engine, because
Mm-hmm.
it's still a new tool. I don't know how many people are using it. And then like my experimentations with it, just because I was having fun, led to something, led to the current freelance that I'm doing. And it's so good because it's probably like everything that I kind of asked for, wherein it's a group of people who are passionate about making something. That's all I've ever wanted to do. Like especially after MPC, and I've seen that like MPC is a massive, massive company. You can barely, know like half the people there, especially in your own department. I don't even know all the animators who work there. Um, so after that, I was like, I just wanted this thing of like, I just want to have a stable thing, but I wanted to be with like a small group of passionate people who know who can get things done. And I found it, knock on wood. So like with this freelance thing that I'm doing, I'm really happy with it. And I'm doing it in a software that is still being updated, that is still relevant. It is being integrated into other companies' pipeline. So it's really exciting that I'm getting more experience into this. So much so that I actually opened Maya yesterday and I couldn't animate in it. I was like, because Maya is in real time. Maya is not pretty to look at. Mine is very scary to look at. I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'll go back to Unreal Engine. Uh, so right now in my journey, I'm in Unreal Engine. I'm exploring Unreal Engine. I do know in the end, I want to be at a place where I can, instead of making stuff like under someone, I want to be in a place where I can make stuff and get awesome people who either I know or I find to make stuff collaboratively. Like in a way, like I can fund a small studio, like a boutique
Mhm.
studio or something, where we just self-fund our own projects, put them up, show them to the world, be proud of what we make, as opposed to like big budget blockbuster Hollywood movies. Because I'm not about that.
You mentioned too when you were doing 3D modeling, you posted up, you said that it was for a character in a game you're making.
Oh, well, it was earlier. Well, not now, but in when I was doing my masters, it was just
Hmm.
like I was just making character models for games. So yeah, I was making that, but not that I gave up on it. It was a school project. We did it. I had plans to expand upon it, but then other people in my group kind of fell off of it because it was like, you know, you make something, it's kind of done, and then it's also like group project and morale is something
Yeah.
that is really hard to maintain. So it kind of fell through the cracks. But I'm learning how to get that leadership quality of keeping people inspired. I'm still learning how to do that. But it would be interesting, like moving forward to do that, because I realized my initial childhood dream was to get into games or to make games. Sorry, it was to make games, and then I saw like how huge games are, and as fun as they are to make, boy, they are so hard. Like they are so difficult, and I do not have a programmer mind. I can say that from experience because I've done it. Like my brain just doesn't work in that way. Uh, Now movies, like that's something that MPC taught me. Like movies, it's still hard, but it's approachable and
Hmm.
it's fun because you're doing storytelling. You don't really have to worry about the technical side of things. I mean, you
Hmm.
do, but like not in the way that programming is. Like it's programming is just like such a fine line to walk because, or such a fine thread because the minute something breaks, your entire game is not working, and you're like, I don't know what I did.
That's such a good point. Oh, God. Okay. Now is the time for rapid questions. When I'll
All
ask you a
right.
series of questions and you just answer them as quickly as possible. Are you
Ooh,
ready?
I am ready, but I don't know how good I am at rapid fire.
Oh, you'll be fine.
All right, I trust you.
All right, perfect. So, favorite number?
7.
There you go. See, you're already a pro. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
What type of tea?
Milk tea. It's chai, not chai tea. Chai tea is not. You must have seen Spider-Verse. Chai tea is not a thing. Okay, it's chai.
uh, dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Big dogs or small dogs?
Big dogs.
Say a breed.
Husky.
Oh, very cute. My friend has one, and she got
Oh,
attitude. Uh, how many hours of sleep do you need?
6 to 8.
Very nice. Favorite season?
Oh, winter. Hands down.
And your favorite seasoning?
Ooh, oh, oregano or like chili flakes, I guess, for a pizza.
Nice. Oh, I also put chili flakes on pizza. It's so good.
Yeah,
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
none because time travel is really mind-boggling. I'd like to stay in the current timeline, please. I don't want to go back and then mess something up.
That's true. That's true. You would not come back to the same timeline if you're
Oh
able
heck
to.
no, like, dude! I am very lucky to like. I have a nice family. I have like I have like a nice software. I just built a nice PC. I have the most amazing girlfriend in the world. I don't want to give that up.
That's right. You know what? Stay where you are.
Yeah.
And favorite day of the week?
Wednesday.
Why Wednesday?
It's chill. Monday, Tuesday, you're like work, 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 and then Wednesday, it's like it's an observation. I don't know if you have made it. Wednesdays tend to be chill. Like no work on Wednesday.
An observation I noticed because I used to commute all the time is Thursday commute was the worst, but then Friday was much better because people would just
Yeah.
not be at work. And no, that's a dumb question. I'm not asking that.
Now you got it. You got it. You got it.
Do you Instagram your food?
No.
You see, it's a dumb question. Give me a letter or a word that starts with the letter W. And it can't
Wednesday.
be a name. No, not Wednesday.
It counts.
You know what? I'm not going to push. No one pushes back. And you know what? Congratulations. You passed the test.
Hey, thanks.
That was the key all along. Oh, crap. Everything. Okay. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any social media you would like to share with us?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for having me. This was amazing. I have never done a podcast, so this is my first time.
Oh, so happy to have you. Thank you.
Well, as for my socials, I do have Instagram, and it's not what you would think it is because I am so lazy. I got my Instagram username from a random name generator. So it's Tuff_Warlock. So that's TUFF_WORLOCK. It's the Wu-Tang Clan name generator if you are interested.
There we are. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, yeah. No, but usually I go. That's the only social I have. I mean, ArtStation is pretty professional, so I just keep it for like the professional side of things.
Okay. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. If you're interested in supporting Creating Color, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and tell your friends and family about us. If you're interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube at Maybe It's Kaybe. Thanks to Name Kaze for creating the ending theme. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namekaze. That's NAMIKAZE. If you're interested in supporting Creating Color financially, consider a one-time or monthly donation through our PayPal or Coffee account, coffee.com/creatingcolor, or purchasing Creating Color merch on Star Rain Studio. Links available via our Linktree. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everybody listening?
In the words of the immortal Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other and party on. Like there's nothing more. That's all.
Hell yeah. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
But yeah, no, thank you for having me on. This was yeah, this was awesome. I had so much fun.
Thank you. So did I. I really appreciate you being here. This has been Creating Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye.
All right.